Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unleashed with Kimberly, a conversation for insight and intelligence. I am super excited. We are still continuing this wonderful conversation with the amazing ladies from my Unleash Your Inner Goddess interview series. And today I'm talking with Amy Lancey. Amy, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So, because I don't introduce you with all your amazing background information, share a bit about what you do.
So I'm the founder and owner of Untitled Enterprises, and I'm a copywriter and marketing consultant. I help business owners create their online content that is shown on their website or social media so that their audience can fully know what they do. And it's done in a way that speaks their language. Like sometimes we say things and we think it makes sense to the people we're trying to reach, and it doesn't really quite make sense in reality because there's sometimes a disconnect, and that's okay. But your audience is the language. So that's what I help my clients with. I help them with the messaging. I help them with creating the content, and I help them with even strategy because I can't create the content if I don't know what the strategy is.
Yeah, it's funny. Even, as you're saying that, I'm thinking even in daily conversation, people have that same issue. You're trying to say one thing and it's not coming out the right way.
I was going to say I'm naturally a mediator. So naturally, even when I'm not working, I have in conversations and I'll jump in and I'll say, I think that person really meant this. And and the other person will be like, thank you for interjecting, Amy. Like,
yeah. And it's so important to get your message the way it needs to be heard versus what you think it should say, because there's a huge difference in that.
There really is. It really is, because when you think about it, you're an expert in something, and chances are you're helping the audience who is possibly a few steps behind you, probably a few steps behind you at least. And when you were them, you were speaking a whole other language versus what you're doing now. You had to learn all these things and then came to all these terms that made sense, that were relevant, and you discovered them. But, before you know it, you're speaking a whole other language now, and then you're looking at your audience who is, back where you used to be, and, they're just using different words. So it's an interesting look at, I don't want to say humanity, but it's an interesting way to view people. I don't want to call it people watching either. People observing, but
yeah, though, I'm going to call that wisdom right there, because what you said about the language that you're speaking back where you started is really your audience that you're trying to reach. And you made such a valid point right there about you need to still speak that same language, not the language that you know and have learned at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very good point. I love that.
Thank you.
So what got you into being a copywriter and doing all of this with business owners?
So about 6 years ago, I had gone through my own health journey. And because I had gone through my own health journey, I thought, hey, I'm going to be a health coach, because that's what made sense. So I went to school, got my health coaching certification. And the thing is, they teach you how to be a great coach. They teach you about nutrition, which is awesome. They did not really teach me about what it was to run a business, because that's a whole other discipline and that's a whole other set of hats. So here I am, a new mom trying to figure out how to run this business. And I went to a couple different group programs and learned things like, what is marketing? How do you run an online business? And along the way, I learned about copywriting. And that was something that I just had a natural knack for right off the bat, because I've written so many things in the past, like, my own journaling. I've published and couple different things. So I'm a natural writer, and so when it came to copywriting, how it was explained to me was, oh, you just write like you speak. I was like, okay, everyone can do that. And then I learned not everyone can do that. But before I really jumped into my business as a copywriter, I was still holding on to the dream of being a health coach. I was still holding on, and I got a business coach, and she was, helping me grow, but there was still no traction. There was no money coming in. And one day I was just so emotional in the car. I was on the phone with her, a Zoom call, and she said, hey, Amy, when your friends and family ask you for help, what do they ask you for help in? And I said, writing, without even thinking about it. And she was floored. And she was like, so we've been working together for 8 months, and you made no mention whatsoever that you are a writer. And I said, well, it just never came up in conversation. So she said, well, I'm going to challenge you to switch your business over to copywriting. Would that be okay with you? And I said, okay. So I changed over my website. I changed over my business cards. I did all of this, rebranding on my own because I had no money. So I did this all on my own. And about a week later, I got my first 2 paying clients, and I knew that was the universe's way of saying, go that way. And along the way, as I've been a copywriter and marketing consultant, I uncovered some gifts of mine that have always been there, even way before I was a copywriter, and that was to pull people's stories out of them. I could talk to a stranger for 20 minutes and they tell me their life story, and that came in handy as I interviewed and I worked with my clients who needed a bio section for their website. So little did I know is that, becoming a copywriter and marketing consultant was something that was so aligned with my gifts, I didn't even realize it. And I'm pretty sure that that's why I was able to finally get paying clients after struggling with being a health coach for a couple years. So that, my friends, is how I got to be where I'm at right now.
I love it. It's interesting how everything evolves.
Yes.
Especially in business, because you have this idea of what you think you're going to do, where you're going to head, this path you're going down, and then you're like, woo, 180, and it's a completely different path. And you're like, oh, well, but now you're sitting in this position where it makes sense. It flows easy. The business part of it, to have that kind of business is easier, and it's in alignment and it makes sense.
Yeah. It's so interesting how one change, granted this was a huge change, but one huge change can just set off a list of events that not only uncover things about you professionally, but uncover things about you personally. I call that the gold in your story. When it comes to your own story, we think about the good and the bad. And I honestly think there's something way underneath there called gold. That's like, oh, like this terrible thing happened, or this really great thing happened. But there was a really deep hidden truth that I didn't see until I looked at it 5 times later. It's like watching a movie, and every time you watch a movie, there's something new. You discover.
Yeah.
Like there's something new. There's always something new. So that's what I mean, the golden in your story. And my life is a testament of, man, you go down this path, and then you think it just goes forward, but then you look backwards, and then there's other things to add to that, and that's going into the future as well as the past and the present. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it just falls in alignment, though. It's funny. You were going down the path of being a health coach, and what you're doing now is so different. And what I like about you pointing that out is it gives other people permission to go, oh, okay, I can switch gears. I can change paths and step into alignment of what I'm meant to do and want to do.
Exactly. And I think that probably a lot of people are asking themselves that question right now. With COVID, there's been businesses that have done better than ever, and there's also businesses that are closing. And it's caused a lot of people to pivot. And sometimes when we are forced to pivot, we're like, no, but the dream was this. And I'm not saying you can't have the dream. You can still have the dream, but maybe there's a different pathway to get to the dream that you just never, ever anticipated.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that when you share that story, it allows people to know that they can do the same thing. There's so much power in that because we feel like, we've spent all this money like you did with a coach and programs and all this stuff, trying to be one type of a coach. And people get wrapped up into that and they don't want to let go because they just know it's going to work. It's got to work. It has to work, and then to go, okay, wait a minute. Maybe you can still take what you learned and implement that into your new business or the next thing that you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Copywriting was, during that time when I was a health coach, and then, learned a bit more as time went on, and even, now I'm still learning new things about copywriting and incorporating that into what I do with clients, and then putting my own spin on it. So, we're always learning, and how I always think of it is there's never a lost experience. No experience was ever lost. No time was ever wasted. It was just like, well, I had to go do that work. I had to go through that journey. And now I'm going to take everything I learned from that, and I'm going to bring it to this moment. I'm going to bring it to the future and, just see where it takes me.
I love that. And you're right. Everything it's a lesson. Everything is. And it's not a wasted if you take that as a lesson and use it in your future.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it becomes a story that you get to share with somebody that helps them.
Exactly. There was a meme online I saw a while ago, and I thought it made so much sense. The meme said, if we all looked at mistakes, instead of looking at mistakes as mistakes, if we saw mistakes as, oh, we tested this out and it didn't work, then it's way more forgiving on ourselves, and then it's easier to get over. Like, oh, okay, I can just move on because that didn't work, and then I'm going to try something else and see if that works.
And you're stepping in a power position when you do that because you're it goes back to you're in control. You're giving yourself permission, which is hard to do as well. And okay, that didn't work out, but I can take what I learned from that and move forward.
Yes.
One step in front of the other.
Exactly.
Makes a big difference.
And I know it's hard. It's hard to sometimes face it. Sometimes it feels embarrassing, and sometimes it feels humiliating depending on the situation. Or it feels like, oh no, I just let myself down. Like, well, okay, we tried it. We're gonna go forward. Close up whatever we need to close up, and then keep going. I think that's the thing is self-forgiveness is definitely a skill that we as adults have to relearn. Because I think I honestly believe that we as kids, we have it, and then as we grow older, somehow we lose it. But then now is a whole other journey to regain that. So we can open another can of worms, Kimberly. But
life is this big classroom, right? So I've seen you in person work your magic, and I call it magic because it's really brilliant in what you do. How would you explain what that is that you're doing when somebody tells you what they need to say and you're doing your little magic where you're like translation, and then it comes out and it sounds amazing. How would you say that is, what are you doing exactly?
Okay, so what Kimberly is referring to is sometimes when I present, I do this one exercise that is now is my signature workshop exercise, and I call it the gift exercise. And what I do is I get people in a circle or in a row, and by this point, usually the people have had a chance to talk to each other, get to know one another, and I pick one person at a time, and I say, "Hey, who did you talk to?" And then they'll point to one person, and I'll say, "Okay, so from what you talked about with that person, from your first impression of that person, what do you think that person's gift is?" And that person that I called on will say, "Okay, let's say I called on Alice, and Alice talked to Karen. So Alice will say, well, Karen's gift is blah 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 blah." And while I could allow that answer to sit still, usually people have a hard time articulating what it is that is someone's gift, because it's something very deep and very special, and they want to make sure they don't miss out on anything. So they'll say it, and then I'll look to Alice, who's the original person, and I'll say, "Hey, I'll look at Karen, who is the person that Alice is speaking about, and I'll say, 'Hey, Karen, so Alice is basically saying that your gift is compassion.'" I'll basically say everything that Alice talked about for like a minute, and then be able to get it down in one statement. So Kimberly's original question to me was, what is going on in my head when I'm listening to someone talk and talk and talk for about for a while, and then be able to condense it down right afterwards. I think what's really happening is because I'm the kind of person that has a very scientific mind and a very creative mind, is the creative mind will listen to the first person, and I'll take in all those words, and it's that love of hearing all these words that's what that creative side is reaching out to. And then as all that's coming into my brain, it's traveling to the scientific side. I don't even know if I'm getting the right side of the brain going, but basically, the creative side is handing it over to the scientific side. And the scientific side is like, okay, well, there's this and this and this. Okay, that's a filler word. That's a filler word. Okay, like we're getting the gist of it. We're understanding the emotions under it. And then there's my intuition bubbling up saying, okay, I feel this. This is how she felt. This is what she's trying to convey. And so then by the time it comes out of my mouth, then it's a condensed format, but usually it captures the spirit of what was originally said. So I look at it as my brain is kind of a word factory, I guess. So that's what's really going on when I'm condensing people's ideas and thoughts and words. I think that's just how my brain naturally works.
I love all of what you just said. But it's fascinating because, like you said, you're taking that creative part of you is listening to what's being said, and you're picking out the filler words and stuff like that, and shortening down and condensing what their message truly is. And you're using your intuitiveness to pull out the special meaning of what they're trying to say. And then that scientific part of your brain is going, okay, and this is how I need to make it make sense. Yeah. And it really is magic. It's really cool to watch when you're in a room to do that. And yeah, well, it's certainly one of your gifts, and you're very brilliant in that. And I think it's important too for people to go, okay, if you're not reaching your ideal audience, or you're not reaching, who it is you're meant to, or like what you said earlier, you're talking how you are today and not who you're trying to reach in your audience. Having somebody like you come in and help them really refine their message makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and sometimes refining that message is the difference between nobody hearing you versus, oh my God, people are reading things and they're paying attention and they want to follow my list, or they want to subscribe to this, or they want to buy this. It's such a small change, and it can make a world of difference, if the messaging was just clearer. Sometimes what I do with clients, depending on who they are and their particular situation, I'm having to translate what it is that they're trying to convey, and then we have to build the message around that. Sometimes I could just build a message based on what I hear, and it's just a change of wording. But a lot of times I'm looking at somebody and I realize, oh, I have to translate this for myself because I may not understand it right off the bat because it's not my expertise. And then I got to look at their audience like, oh, so their audience is blank. So they're probably saying this. So for instance, if I was a financial planner, right, and the financial planner, who is me, is coming to someone like me, if I'm saying these big financial planning terms such as 401k or investments, my audience may know that, and they may know the importance of it, kind of. But if it's really dry language that is not that interesting, especially when their audience is, say, blue-collar pre-retirees, who are not financial planners, then speaking like a financial planner to them is not necessarily going to turn the tides, because they're not going to understand what you're saying. And if they don't understand what you're saying, then they don't understand why they need it. So then when I come in, I'm like, okay, so what is it that you really want to convey? Okay, so your audience is this. Okay, they're probably saying it like this. So let's say it like this and see what happens. So yeah, it's a process, and it's a skill I really love utilizing and practicing and executing. And I can see how much of a difference it makes on my clients' faces when they're like, oh my gosh, what was I trying to say? Thank you.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that you can help any industry.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? You're not limited by, it's not just coaches or financial planners or whatever. You literally can change the conversation within any industry.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had clients who are authors, coaches, and speakers. I have clients who are financial planners. I've had clients who are insurance people. I've had clients who are woo-woo energetic healers. So I have one corporate client right now too, who is a retail chain. So I can literally help a lot of different people in different industries, and it's simply from the standpoint of what is it really that you're trying to convey, who you're trying to convey it to, and how do we get that message from here to there. So yeah, and I think anyone in business has that issue, or is having to wonder about how do we overcome this, or how do we continuously evolve this strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even restaurants, I mean, you think food, it's a no-brainer, but really it's still messaging, it's still branding, and it's still calling out to that client audience. Bringing it in. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Yeah. I even thought about it, is thinking how restaurants, people think, okay, I just take a picture of a dish and then put it online, but that may just be, oh, that looks pretty, and words the better. And then I end up having to cut things down, even because I'm looking at it thinking, wow, this is overwhelming me. Chances are it's overwhelming anyone else who's coming across the website or whatever marketing material this is. And so it's more about quality over quantity when it comes to words. And when you look at the quality of the words, are they getting straight to the point? Are they honoring you? Are they honoring the audience? Does it get straight to what the end goal is, which is like, please come see our restaurant, or please try our product. So yes, it is absolutely about the messaging, and it's about just, the clear communication of what is it that you offer and what is the benefit of it.
Yeah, for sure. How would you suggest for someone to make that decision to hire someone with your talents? Like, what is that? Obviously, a lack of business would be one, but if they really think that their message is fairly good and they are getting clients, what would you recommend them in reason to hire you? How can you help somebody in that position?
Oh, for someone who feels like their message is at the beginning clients. So I have had clients that did pretty well with referrals, and did not get too much in the online space. And when it came to, such as now COVID, or when it just comes to having to figure out the virtual platform, the referrals, they're great. They're awesome. You're always going to need referrals. But when it comes to expanding your business, and when it comes to, having a greater reach, and looking at your social media and your website as your online store, as an extension of you that never goes to sleep, that could potentially be spreading your message when you're playing with your kids or when you are resting. Then I say you're leaving money on the table if you're not even considering that. So I think that, also there are some people who I know I'm not cheap. I'm just gonna say that I know I'm not cheap, and when I give them my prices, I know usually they'll either say yes if they're ready, or if they say no, they'll try it on their own. And the thing is that they're already bouncing so many hats, and it's not their expertise, that when it comes to tackling it on their own, they have very little time. They're not even sure if it's any better. And now they're stressed out because now they're adding this to all their other duties and tasks and responsibilities, because you're wearing all these different hats.
That's a good point you're making about, especially as entrepreneurs, we wear many hats anyway, especially when you starting out your business, and you are everything to the business, and yes, realizing that you can't do everything, and you're not an expert in everything in order to run your business, that it's good to hand that off and say, okay, I need this from you and I need this from you,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've had to do that myself, not for my writing, but for like my bookkeeping. It was like I was doing my own books and I was falling behind, and I don't even know if I was really doing it right. And then I finally hired my friend to do my bookkeeping, and it felt so much better. And there's a part of me that was like, well, but then that's less revenue for me. But my revenue went up because I was paying him to do that other stuff, and I didn't have to worry about that. So then I could work on the other things that made money, like sales and marketing. Or I had my friend do my website when I had to overhaul it, because I knew my website would take me at least 10 plus hours, and I didn't have that time. So I was like, please do my website. I don't have the time. And somehow, when you're trying to offload duties, it may seem like the money isn't there, or there'll be less money, and there's a fear of that. But when you actually hand it off to other people, it can yield more revenue. And it did for myself, because like I said, like you have other people are taking on the things you don't want to take on, and then you can take on the things you want to take on, which is to be the face of your business.
It gives you the time to be in your business and doing what you want to do, which is the why of what you're doing, versus spinning your wheels and trying to do everything wearing all those hats.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you are at that beginning stage, we understand, we've all been there.
Yeah.
we still wear a lot of hats, and it's okay, you know.
Yeah.
When you're ready to take that step, make that next step.
Exactly. I mean, I remember those days when there was no money or barely any money coming in, and it was hard to even consider paying for help because, you know, how can you pay for help when you have no money in general? So yeah, no, I totally understand when you don't even have the money and the funds. And what I was talking about with delegating, that comes more, you know, when you've been in business for at least a year and there is you know, somewhat consistent money coming in. But when you're at the very beginning, I would totally suggest that you know, you think about, okay, what's going to make me money first, and you focus on those activities first, so that way you build up that cash and you can delegate other things. So I know that seems a little backwards for some people, like, I got to get the website up and everything, and I totally recognize you got to get the website up and running. But if you're at the point of, oh no, like, I need more help, but I don't have any money for a team, like, okay, well, what will make you money now? Like, which is going to your network and making those calls, like, hey, do you need this? Hey, do you need this? Hey, do you need this? Like, I'm checking to see if anyone needs any money has any money to pay for my services right now. So yeah, I mean, my heart totally goes out to the people who are still at the very beginning and have a hard time justifying the expense at the moment. But when you are in business after a certain time and there is consistent money, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but if you have some consistent money, put some money aside for some, I call them team members, or team members, subcontractors, because it will be so worth it, and it will help your bottom line.
Definitely.
Like, add me to your team, and it will help your bottom line.
Yeah. It you know, it depends, and it's funny, depending on who you talk to. Some say, oh, you have to have a website, you have to have all these things implemented before you start. And then others are like, no, you don't need a website, you don't need this, you don't need that. My suggestion to people that get all that overwhelming information that doesn't line up, do what feels right for you.
Absolutely.
And if you feel you need a website, it doesn't have to be a major, fully, beautifully done website. You can just create a landing page so you feel like you have something where people can go to. It, you know, it gives you a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, just help. What was that?
Flexibility.
Yeah. And so, you know, you can do the little steps to help you feel like you are, you know, ready and prepared, and then you can implement and, you know, delegate those out later on, like you were saying, when you have consistent money coming in, to build your website up and to do all those other things. So I think that's a great point.
I agree. And I your standpoint that do what feels right for you. Done is better than perfect. Basically, it doesn't mean you get everything done, but it means that, you know, okay, if your idea is to just do in-person interactions, then just focus on that. But if you want to focus on both in-person and virtual, you know, do what Kimberly suggested. Just get a landing page. It doesn't have to be that pretty, and it doesn't have to have everything on there. It just needs to have enough where people know who you are, what they can hire you for, what products they can buy from you, and you know, some kind of way of keeping track of them. Like, can they opt into your list, or can they buy this thing straight from your website? You know, like just something, or just can they email you? Can they email you straight from the website, and you take it from there? You know,
and that's fine, and that's totally fine too. It doesn't have to be, you know, this elaborate website. And I know business owners that have been in business for many years, and as they've evolved, their websites have evolved. And you can go back and look at the different ones and go, you can tell their growth, how they've expanded. But that first website or landing page was perfect. It was enough at the time. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. And like you said, it can just be a little blurb about you, what you sell, how they can reach you, and how they can buy your program or product. And it can be really that simple. And it gives you a bit of credibility, because nowadays people do go and check websites.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, sorry. I do see some people who say, oh, you don't really need a website, you just need social media. And I do have to say one thing about that is, well, you know, if you're only posting on Facebook and Instagram and that's where all your business stuff is, just keep in mind that those platforms are owned by somebody else, a whole other business. And if that business goes down, then you lost all your posts, you lost all your followers, because they were connected to this one platform, only this one platform, as opposed to getting on your email list or, you know, having a website where they can find you. So I say, you know what, you know, don't, I would personally recommend, you know, you still do social media, but, you know, have a one-pager website so at least people can find you if something happens to those platforms. That's all I have to say about that particular aspect of online marketing.
And they're free. You can have a totally free one. It's absolutely okay. And then when you're ready, again, you take that next step. Do what's right for you in the moment, and then you can grow, and it can grow with you. And I think that's such good advice for business.
You know? You can with what you got, you know, don't go into debt before you can make any money.
Right? Yeah.
Don't do it. Like,
that's bad business.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta have business to keep, you know, keep the business running, and then invest into the business. And so it's you know, I agree that there are investments you need to make in business, but definitely, you know, go with what's gonna, you know, allow you to go to sleep at night. You know, I never want anyone to feel like, okay, I gotta take out a loan to hire Amy. It's like, no, wait a second. Like, let's figure this out. And that's why I've had to break up payments sometimes for clients who need just, you know, I'll put down half now and I'll put down the other half later. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, for people who are watching, asking whoever you're looking to hire if they have payment programs, or, you know, obviously everybody loves to take the full payment, but we also have all been there and understand that payments are sometimes necessary to help you get to that next level. And oftentimes, most people that I know are willing to do that.
Yeah. And I well, now that I think about it, because my work is a heavy deliverable, it is just standard for me to ask my clients, please put 50% down now, and then give me the other 50% when we're done, just because it is a heavy deliverable to create. So then that makes me feel better and then less overwhelmed. But there have been other times when I've had to separate that into like 33%, because it money can be tight sometimes, but they know that the investment is worth it to them for the long run of their business. So and I totally understand, like, okay, well, let me help you now, and let's make this easier for you now in this way, so that way you can kind of keep up with the payments, and, you know, your cash flow doesn't get compromised in this entire project. So.
Right. Explain to people what a heavy deliverable is.
So a heavy deliverable, what I mean is, so for me, people hire me to create the content for their website. So the written words on their website, and that's the copy. And so it's not like, hey, I get on a phone call with them and I can deliver that 24 hours later. It's like, okay, well, depending on how much work is needed, it could take me 7 days to 14 days to create the first draft of a whole entire website. And after that, then I send it to my clients, and they have 3 rounds of revisions, and then it's finally done. And so when I mean a heavy deliverable, as in I need to deliver this huge project back to you because you trusted me, you gave me your money, and I am intent on giving you the what you paid for. and so creating that website copy, I love it, but it is a lot of work to create, because I'm literally customizing and creating that for the person, and
Yeah.
and having to go through my own processes on my end, and then finally give you something tangible. I say tangible. It's it's an electronic document, but it's a tangible product I'm giving you at the end.
But I wanted you to I wanted you to clarify what that was, because it's the time, energy, and your process of what you do in order to deliver that service. So
Exactly.
I wanted that distinction made. How would you recommend people that aren't quite at that point to hire you, but don't want to miss out on opportunity in business? What can they do at this moment to get them to the point where they could actually hire you to change their business?
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to recommend a couple of methods that I'm just going to tell your viewers for free, because they can do this on their own, and it can make a world of difference. So I would say, if you're going to tackle your own messaging, bootleg it so that way you can be ready for me. So I would say set aside some time, get your notebook, and write down the question, what problem do I solve? And when you write down that question, I want you to think about, who is your audience and what problem are they having? Like, don't start saying, I help them with blank, because that's a solution. We just want to get to what the problem actually is. So for instance, when I was a health coach, I helped moms lose weight. And the problem that I helped them solve was, these moms, they were not feeling like they were taking care of themselves, and they never lost the baby weight, and the baby weight was a representation of them not taking care of themselves, so they just want to do something for them. So that's an example of, okay, I'm really getting down to what is the problem that my audience is having, the problem that's keeping them up at night, and it's a problem that I can solve. So I would say, write that down in a notebook. So, and figure out what is that problem, because once you understand what that problem is, as opposed to what the solution you offer, that makes it way easier to figure out, how do I explain that to people? And then the other method I would say is something I call copy mining. So this was developed by Joe Copy Hackers. And so what you do is you think about your ideal client, you think about what he or she reads, what kind of books are they reading, to figure out the problem that they're struggling with. And then you look at those books on Amazon. Don't look at the book description though. Scroll down to the book reviews and look at what are people saying about the book. How did the book help solve their problem? And when you look at those words, those are the same words your audience is saying. And that's what copy mining is called, because you're mining for copy right then and there. It's free on the internet. It's all over the place. And you're just you're borrowing a sample of the ideal client's words there. So so I would say, think about what problem do you solve, and try copy mining.
Those are two awesome, fantastic points. I love that. There's so much that you can learn about your audience and yourself when you're kind of journaling out really what you said.
Mm-hmm.
What is the problem that you solve?
Mm-hmm.
And then I love that point of, and I love the term copy mining. That's awesome. It's hysterical. I love it. But a lot of, there's business coaches that teach people that in order to find their messaging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a fantastic technique.
Yeah, because it's right there in there. And it's not like you're not taking the entire review and you're exposing the person. You're just taking a little fragment of what they said, and those words are most likely shared among everyone else who has the same issue. So So yeah, and I learned this from one business coach, and there was, I think the original article that was sent to me about copy mining talked about how this one advertising agency was able to take this one little snippet of someone's review, this little like a three-word thing that anyone could have said, and they put on a poster board, and their conversion rates, as in, you know, the number of buyers or the number of subscribers that they had went up by, you know, a few dozen percentage. It was quite a difference, because the audience was able to look at it and say, oh my gosh, that was meant for me. I need that. Like,
Yeah.
that helped me. So it makes such a world of difference when you know the power of your words and when you use the right words.
Yeah. So important. So how can people find you? We have your email and we have your website. So this is how people can get to you, correct?
Yes. So my website is untoldstoryenterprises.com. And you can also email me at amy@amylancy.com. I am going between domains at the moment. So for now, it's amy@amylancy.com for my email, and my website is untoldstoryenterprises.com.
What will people find on your website so they know what they might experience?
When people go to my website, they're gonna see what they can hire me for. When they go to my website, they're gonna see my core values, because I definitely wanted to make sure that everyone knew what is the backbone of every business decision I ever make, whether I work with a client or I don't work with a client. You're gonna see my core values. You'll see my story. You'll see what you can hire me for, and you know, really, my website is one giant writing sample. So, you know, if you want an example of my writing, it's right there. And then I have more personalized writing samples that that I can share with any of your audience, that I can share privately, because some of it is just they're just website links, and some of it is just
awesome though.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're saying it's an example of your writing style. That's and you know, again, for newbies that are in business that just need to throw up a landing page or something, take a look at Amy's website and just kind of, don't copy her words, but you can get the idea of what needs to be said just on that front page about you, about what you sell, programs, services, whatever it is, and how they can connect and reach out to you and buy your products. And that's all you need. But what a great opportunity for people to be able to jump on your website, take a look, and understand the important pieces that need to be there. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It all incorporated together. Alignment, Kimberly.
It is alignment. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on here. We still have a few minutes, but I want to share, you were one of the ladies that I had mentioned in the beginning of this, that you were in my virtual summit. Mm-hmm. And what I love about that is that we deep dive into women overcoming obstacles, negative limiting beliefs, and all these different things that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you can be on the other side of it. And you share your personal story, and I love your story. It's amazing. People absolutely should read this because of who you are today from what you experienced as a child is just amazing. And I love, and it's almost ironic in a sense of what you do today from how you were as a child. And I love it. We'll just say that you were shy and let the readers go from there. But this book is coming out soon. There was a minor delay, but we will be launching it. Here's the cover of it. It's Goddesses Among Us, because all your sisters, aunts, mothers, granddaughters, friends, all are goddesses. They're stepping into their truth and being in their power. And I just want to thank you for being a part of that. People can read your story, they can reach out to you on untoldstoryenterprises.com, and they can email you at, again, it's amy@amylancy.com, right?
Yes, it's been an honor, Kimberly, to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of all these different projects. It's so much fun, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future. Oh my gosh.
Yay. And we had to put the retreat on hold because of all the things that are going on that in this world that we live in right now, but do watch for that as well. We will be doing the Unleash Your Inner Goddess retreat, women's retreat, probably springtime we're thinking, but we'll see. It'll definitely depend. But if any of you are watching this show on a replay or later on, and you're watching it from facebook.com/Aphrodite Enterprises Inc., you can still comment and ask questions. Just tag myself or Amy, and we will come back through and answer your questions. So you can still be in communication with us that way. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And you can find me on KimberlyACoaching.com. Amy, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today. I absolutely love your story. I read it in the book. And for everybody who wants to go read Amy's information, untoldstoryenterprises.com, right?
Yes, exactly.
Let me put that back up so people can see it. There it is.
You got it.